San Francisco, and the red lines are?
Fault lines.
Fault lines. Okay. So, just to make the story happen, let's assume we have an earthquake and it happens now, right? And it's the big one. It's the 7 or the 8, right? So if you're the fire department or your police or your ambulance, right, you have this moniker that says, do the most good for the most people, right? So wherever the most people are, that's where you go, right? So what that means for San Francisco is that if it happens during the day, it's downtown, right? So all services are going to converge downtown. When you think about that, what that means is that in San Francisco we have a few thousand first responders. Downtown you have a few 100,000, right? Upwards maybe a million in a given day. You add to that says, fire department says, if it's 7 or 8, in some places of downtown, it's going to be 3 to 6 feet deep of glass, right? So just getting through downtown is an absolute mess. It's probably not going to happen. So then you add to that saying, well, there's a numbers problem, right? You have only so many people who can help, and you have a lot of people who need it. How does it work out? So there's plans in place, right? There's plans in place to say, well, let's call out. Let's start calling other communities and saying, hey, can you guys come in and give us some help, right? Makes sense. But you add to that the problem that earthquakes are really big, right? An 8 or a 9, right, is 100 miles of damage, no questions asked, right? Not just like, hey, I have some glass falling off the walls, but you're talking about Watsonville. It's going to have a building that's going to collapse, right, if it happens in San Francisco. Okay? So you have all these agencies, all these communities that can't help either, right? So the calls just keep going out, right? And the plans go out. They're calling LA, San Diego, Vegas, Reno, you know, Oregon, Portland, etc. are all getting calls saying, come in to help, right? So that being said, the other thing that's unique about San Francisco geographically, of course, is that we're on a peninsula, right? So as soon as we get a big one, 6 or above, first thing that happens, bridges are out, right? So that could mean that it's an hour, it could mean that it's a couple days, depending upon what's going on. So immediately, if you're trying to get to San Francisco, or if you're trying to leave, but you're trying to get to San Francisco, it's difficult, right? And a good way to think about that is, imagine going from here to Napa and never crossing a bridge, right? That's a scary thought. I mean, how would you? I wouldn't even know how to do it. Right? Anyone live across the bay?
You guys do a San Jose.
You have to go. Yeah, you have to come all the way down and around and go back up, right? Which is exactly the case, right? So if you're coming in, so if you're coming in to help, right? You're
across the bridge, though.
So you're going around to Napa?
Yeah, because you got San there's another bridge that's
bridges are closed. Bridges, no questions asked. Bridges are shut down. And again, it could be a few hours. And I'll tell you a story about the Bay Bridge from Loma Prieta. But it comes around, so that you got to go. Everyone's got to come the long way. And I'm saying this to kind of keep a clock running in your head of what's going on during an emergency, right? So you've got everybody coming in, they're going the long way. But the other thing to think about is that if something's going on, if there's a fire in Mountain View, if a building collapsed in Oakland, if something's going on in Marin, and you're coming in to help, you can't just pass up the other communities. Say, sorry, I'm on my way to San Francisco, even though you guys are on fire. Right? So it takes a while for people and agencies to get help, right? There's just a logistical aspect to this. And it sounds kind of, well, earthquakes, are they really that big? Loma Prieta was 80 miles away and it collapsed a bridge. Right? 80 miles away, right, and the marina fell, right, and went on fire. And that's not even the big one, right? And remember, I mean, think about how far that is. Remember also what was happening that day. Anyone? World Series, right? Oakland, San Francisco, right? Everybody was home, right, more or less. So freeways were relatively clear, people were relatively safe. And the other thing that happens is, if you remember Japan, they just had their big one. Well, it was an 8.9, which is ridiculous. It was 80 miles off the coast. But they had 500 aftershocks, right, in about the few weeks that followed. So even though you just had an earthquake, it's not like it's suddenly, okay, we had it, now it's safe, right? It's going to keep shaking, right? They had one that was a 7. They had 6s and 7s, right, in the weeks that followed. So you saw these Loma Prieta-sized earthquakes 2 weeks later, right? That's a very, very strange thing to think about, and scary as well. So, that being said, what happens next? Right? So the mayor, chief of police, chief of fire, everybody converges to the emergency operations center, which is off across the street from City Hall, off between Fell and Goff. There's sort of an EOC room, it kind of looks like this, and there's TVs everywhere, everyone's got these little name plaques that go around the table, and everyone says, okay, we have a problem, it's big, let's coordinate what goes on. They start activating all the emergency services, right? Activate, activate, activate. They say, okay, it's really bad, we need a state of emergency. They call the governor, hey, Mr. Governor, we need help. He says, okay. Mr. Governor calls the president, Mr. President, we need help. He says, okay. They bring in FEMA, right? The thing that brings up FEMA and other types of emergency management services is that they get activated, right? And what that means is that currently they're off, right? You don't just have, what happens in these types of emergencies, like what's going on right now in the Midwest, is you have people who are hanging out, suddenly you have an organization that goes from 0 to a few thousand in a matter of days to a week, and then scales back down again, right? So management-wise, it's a big deal. And a good way to think about that, well, how many people work here, actually? A couple hundred?
In the building.
In the building.
We all work here. No, I didn't.
Slightly less than 400.
Okay, so 400. So imagine yesterday this company didn't exist, and you get a call at like 5 o'clock yesterday. It says, hey, we're starting this company, and you're working at whatever you're working at now, and you show up today, right? This is what goes on in FEMA, right? And you know your role, you know what you're supposed to do, but it's who's your boss, right? How do you get supplies, right? How do you make a phone call? What's your network password, right? All these sorts of just basic stuff is going on, right? And we're talking about 2-3 days now, plus you got to get here, okay? So FEMA is a big deal, and it's hard, and there are just things that go on that are difficult. And when they do get here, right, what's the first thing they do, right? The big stuff, right? Do the most good for the most people, right? So what does that mean? That means, okay, the bridge is collapsed. Okay, I'm gotta take care of the bridge, right? People gotta get home. Stockpile, you have a contagion type of event, right? You gotta not only stockpiles that are up in Oregon, we got some here in the city, set up triage centers, set up inoculation centers, right?
What is stockpile?
If there's like a major biological attack, San Francisco has a handful of avian flu vaccines, but if it's really Bay Area wide, there's warehouses of stuff that can be mobilized. And I think there's 7 or 8 of them around the country.
Concentration camps?
The FEMA camps?
Yeah.
FEMA camps, Stockton, right? If the Richmond refinery's on fire, right, there's a big earthquake, that's a big deal. If a sewage line blows, that's a huge hazmat issue, right? Right? And you think, set up sheltering, there's building collapse, right? There's big stuff that has to happen first, right? So, again, think of that timeline. So then suddenly, this stuff gets settled down, right? It's time to help people, right? And then this is what the MassHealth looks like. This is Katrina. Right? This is actually the picture that got me in the Red Cross, because I said I'm not going to be in that line. I'm on the other side, right? And you think of the DMV, right? Imagine everybody in the city goes to the DMV at the same time, right? That's what it is, right? Everybody needs an inoculation. Everybody needs a blanket. Everyone needs to get in the shelter all at the same time. Right? There's only so many ways you can do it, right? You're not mailing out supplies, right? You get in a line and you wait, okay? And then finally, which is to get help, right? Triage. Right? Triage in a big disaster isn't like going to your doctor. You're not saying, hey man, my shoulder hurts, you know, I think I pinched a nerve, something like that, right? It's 30 seconds. And there's guys like me who aren't doctors, and we get these little pieces of tape, right? Red, yellow, green, black, and we go airway, breathing, circulation, and we get a tag, right? That's right. Or maybe if you're lucky, we get one of these big ones, right? Who knows? And then if you got a broken arm, you're a walking wounded, right? You're fine. You'll survive another day. But if you got a chest wound, that's a different story. If it's bleeding, it's leading, right? As they say, right? So it's a different. Things change quickly in these events, right? And there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that doesn't involve you, right? And that's kind of the idea, is that there's just logistic things that are going on. There's centers that need to be set up. There's communication networks that need to be set up, right? All this stuff needs to get done before we can worry about you, right? And that's where preparedness comes in. So, questions on this first? Just stop saying. Okay. All right. So, the 3 pillars, right? Make a plan, get a kit, be informed. First off, make a plan. Right? In any disaster, if you read, you read all these emergency management things, whether it's 9/11, whether it's Katrina, whether it's this out in the Midwest, Japan, the biggest issue always is communication, right? Because networks are typically down, okay? And so when you make that personal, what does it mean? What's going to happen, right? Earthquake happens now. You get on the table, okay, you're fine. You check yourself. I'm good. People around you, okay, we're good. First thing you're going to do, start calling, right? You're going to call your friends, call your family, whatnot, right? And you're calling them. And everybody in the building's calling them. Everybody in the city, in the Bay Area is calling out, right? An hour goes by, everyone around the world knows what happens. Everyone's now calling in from around the world to figure out what's going on. Phone lines are now jammed. Right? So the Red Cross recommends the first part of your plan, which is the first thing you're probably going to do anyway, is to set up a phone plan, right? Communicate with those that you care about, right? Who's that going to be? And we say is choose somebody out of state. Right? In the Schaefer household, I got my sister, she lives out in Wisconsin. I got my brothers and sisters, my parents, everyone calls Sue. Hey Sue, I'm good. How's mom and dad? Okay, she also talked to him. She's a little hub of information. Right? Have an out-of-state contact because inbound lines surely going to be jammed. If you can call or text one of the two, simply make that plan. Right? Next thing, right? You need to call. Everyone's good. You're good. You want to get home. Okay? Part 2. Sounds very obvious. First place is at home. Right? Everyone goes home. Everyone meets at home. Don't pass go, right? What happens is these things is the dad goes looking for the mom goes looking for the kid, and the kid goes looking for the dad. Everybody's going in a circle, no one finds each other, you end up with pictures on the wall. Just what happens. So set up that plan with whoever it may be and say, we all meet here. No one goes looking for each other, everyone gets home first, right? If you get to that home or that neighborhood, it's like a PG&E incident, right? And you have a few blocks that they're not working, always have a plan B. Typically it's a park, it's a parking lot. But not just a parking lot, not just some set of land, but it's a certain light post. It's a tree, right? Because those places are going to be mobbed, right? So make sure everyone knows, hey, it's this tree that we're going to meet at. Okay? And I'll say this again, but before you guys get back to your desk, send out the email and just saying, hey, if something happens, where are we going to meet? Just simple as that. And the third thing is a time frame. This is a Jim Schaefer ad here, just based on the stories that I've heard, which is especially if anyone lives across the bay, you're not getting home early, right? You're not getting home at 5, right? I give these things, and afterwards, usually people tell their stories of different disasters. I'll tell you 2. One was this lady she lives in Walnut Creek, and she said it happens. She gets people in a van. There's still aftershocks. One lady's freaking out. She's telling the story. She had to slap the lady to get her in the van, right? People panic. I mean, these are stressful situations. They finally get in the van. They head up on the Bay Bridge, right? So they go on the Bay Bridge, and then it gets closed down because it collapsed. Okay, fine. Police come. First guy comes. He's trying to turn everybody around on the Bay Bridge, right? And she's like, it was just a mess. She's like, it was such a disaster. So then the second crew of cops come, right? And it's just people, right? Just people don't know what's going on. People freak out. I'm sure the first police guy just says, everyone turn around, right? That's what happens. So the next crew comes, says, okay, no, this is a bad idea. Let's go around and turn around Treasure Island and get back on the westbound side and go home. So the freeways are all packed, right? And so she says that whoever was driving they took sort of side streets the entire way home. Finally, Dumbarton was open, right? And she took Dumbarton, worked her way back, got home at 5 a.m. Right? It was 12 hours before she got home. Right? So if you do have this plan, hey, we're going to get home, just let people know it's going to be a while. Right? Or the plan B is also ferries. Right? But I'll tell you, this lady, this last class I taught, she was a 9/11. And she's like, 9/11 happened. Hey, what happened? Bridges went out, subways went out, tunnels are out. Right? So ferries. Everybody goes to the ferries. Right? It happens about 8, 9 in the morning. She's like, we didn't get on the ferries until 7 o'clock at night. And she's like, and everybody was sunburned. You had vendors coming in trying to sell water, right? So it's just, you have a different way of getting home. And letting people know that, hey, it's going to be a while, it's just a peace of mind thing, right? And know for yourself that, hey, if you do live across the bridge, you do live in San Jose, whatever it may be, it's going to be a while, right? And just prep for it, okay?